There are thousands of crypto projects to choose from, literally thousands, and it's really hard to know which one of these are legit, which one of these are actually worth putting some money into, worth researching further, which ones are actually solving problems. And don't worry, because I've done the work for you here. I have picked out 4 small cap altcoin projects that seem to have very high potential and strong use cases. Now, I've talked about this in the past. I believe the best way to judge a cryptocurrency project is what problems does it solve, what use cases does it have, and what is the level of disruption for its use cases. How many dollars of disruption are there in the project? How many dollars worth of disruption can they potentially create? There's a lot of potentials here because this is a brand new industry. But I think that's a good way to focus, not simply focusing on, okay, what's the next hyped up coin? Because you want use cases if you are a long-term buyer, and that's what I am. I'm not trying to find the 1 week flip. I'm trying to find stuff that I can buy, hold for a while, and potentially see very high multiples. Now, this isn't to say that every single crypto that I talk about today is going to absolutely explode in growth. We do not know what the price is going to be tomorrow. We don't know what the price is going to be next week. This is not investment advice whatsoever. This isn't even a recommendation to buy because this is very risky. We're in risky territory here. Already just any crypto, even the largest Bitcoin, is extremely volatile. And then we take smaller projects, you amplify that volatility by 100. So they're extremely risky. I always recommend placing the far majority of your investment dollars into something safe, something reliable. And then if you have cash left over, think about maybe the speculative, more risky side. So this is potentials for small cap, but they're extremely risky. I'm not saying they're absolutely going to go to the moon. They're just projects that I think have some momentum behind them and have strong use cases. Not financial advice. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's hop into this video and talk about these 4 cryptocurrencies. And in order to highlight this, of course, I've made a nice chart here. Let me pull it over. Here we go. So these are the 4. We're going to zoom in on each and every one of these, go over the founders, what problems it solves, and what the potential is for each of these coins. Also, if you want to have my research notes, if you want to be able to download my charts, if you want my buy alerts, make sure you join the Patreon. I have opened 10 more spots. They get gobbled up very quickly, so go ahead and grab that as soon as possible. All right, the first one we're going to start with is Nano. Nano is a cool project that I recently became familiar with. It was founded by Colin Lemahu, which sounds like my last name if I was French or something like that. Lemaharu. Anyways, he's a software developer or was a software developer and engineer with experience working at AMD, Dell, and Qualcomm. He founded Nano. Now, what is Nano? Nano is a very, very simple project, especially the ones compared to this list, and especially compared to a lot of other projects. It has one major goal: to bring a better currency to the world economy by creating an ultra-fast, feeless, and eco-friendly cryptocurrency. So it's kind of like the cash equivalent of Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is like a store of value. This would be the cash that is actually used. That's their goal anyway. And as you can see, if they hit their goal, this crypto would be worth a ton of money. So their goal, I don't know why I chose that picture. Their goal is to replace fiat dollars in all currencies, not just US dollars. So what's the potential here? They have very, very fast transaction times, very impressive transaction times, less than 1 second, so almost immediate. They are feeless, which is also an interesting concept. It's really appealing, especially for small transactions like microtransactions in games, and it's kind of limitless to the possibilities of small transactions being feeless or very low fees, because that's just simply not something that we have right now. With credit card fees, there's minimums, 25 cents, $1 for credit card fees. The world would change if there was feeless transactions. Now, I do have some concerns with feeless transactions because other networks have fees built into them for a reason, for security purposes, like for Ethereum, for example. They have extremely high gas fees right now, but the reason for gas fees in general is so you can't just have a bot spamming the network being able to process millions of transactions, because the economies don't work in that you have to pay for each transaction fee. So it's a little concerning me that there's no fees, but it's also an interesting concept. And if they can figure that out, if they can figure out the security end, that could be quite exciting. The network is built in a way that's very scalable, which of course it would need to be if they're trying to replace all currency. And it's very efficient in how it stores its data. When it hit 4 million transactions, it only took up 1.5 gigs of data, which is pretty impressive on the scalability and the efficiency ends. Next up, we have UMA or UMA. I'm not sure if they call it UMA. I just realized. Anyways, if this was founded by Hart Lambert and Allison Liu, and I wrote here that they met at the most cliche place where brainiacs meet, which is the Goldman Sachs trading floor. And UMA means Universal Market Access. Now, this one's a little bit more technical, especially on the financial end. So if you're not very up and up on financial instruments, it might seem a little bit boring, but just hold out through the end here, and you'll understand the level of disruption with this one. So what is it? It's a blockchain protocol made for the creation of synthetic assets that represent underlying assets. Now, a synthetic asset that represents an underlying asset is a derivative. Now, this could be used for many things within derivatives like futures contracts, options contracts, and swaps. Now, options contracts are fairly common for a retail investor, but something like an interest rate swap is not common and done more on the large banking institution size. So they're working to create a smarter way to create and automate derivatives and the markets and the financial instruments within the derivatives markets. So what's the potential here? It sounds pretty boring, but there's actually a lot of disruption that could be had. So derivative markets typically have a high barrier to entry, and UMA would make this more inclusive, and they would disrupt a huge market. I did not realize how big this market was until I started diving into this. The total market value of derivatives in the first half of 2019 was $12 trillion with a T, trillion. So there's a massive amount of disruption here if they're able to hit their goals. Now, of course, neither of these, this is not investment advice. They are extremely risky. I just have to say this 1,000 times because I don't want any comments saying you told me to buy this crypto and it went down, or, these are cryptos with high potential, but again, they're extremely volatile. Okay, next project, and that is Anchor. This is a really interesting project. Founded by these three fine gentlemen here, Chandler Song, Stanley Wu, and Ryan Fang. So Chandler is a former Amazon Web Services engineer. Stanley is a former engineer at Amazon. And Ryan Fang is a former investment broker at Morgan Stanley. So they have quite the resumes on them. Now, what is Anchor? Anchor is a network of hosting services for blockchain nodes. Now, this is another one that might sound a little bit boring, but it has a strong use case. That's what I'm really interested in. Something like Amazon Web Services is a boring business, but they print cash. They absolutely print cash. So there is a lot of money to be made in the boring areas with strong use cases. So Anchor is a network of hosting services for blockchain nodes. In order for a blockchain to work properly and to be decentralized, it needs many nodes. Now, this can be complicated and expensive, and Anchor is aiming to solve that problem. They're kind of like the builder for these nodes, an easier way, more simple way to build these nodes. And nodes, if you aren't familiar, make up the infrastructure of a blockchain. A full node can be thought of as a device that contains a full copy of the entire transaction history of a blockchain. It's kind of like a computer in itself that holds that full transaction history. Now, their mission is to make Web 3.0 easy to use for everyone. So it's kind of like a platform. You can almost think of it like a website builder, except for cryptocurrencies would be the best analogy that I can think of on the spot like this. And their native token is this ANKR token. And yes, it can be staked. It can be staked, so you can earn some passive income off of your Anchor tokens. Now, what's the potential? Well, it's not the most exciting project. It solves a problem that needs solving: ease to the creation of blockchains. I mean, it's kind of like I said with the website builder, it's kind of like the difference between building a website on HTML versus using a website builder like Wix or something like that. Not only does it make hosting nodes cheaper and more accessible, but it also makes sure it's done right. They ensure every node operates exactly how it's supposed to. So there's some potential there. It's a very interesting use case. And you can see there's kind of a theme with these projects. You can see it being a thing, even though it might not be the most sexy thing. Okay, next up, we have HNT Helium. This one's really interesting as well. This was founded by these three fine gentlemen: Amir Halim, whose background is in esports and game development; Sean Fanning, who is known for his development on Napster, that peer-to-peer music sharing service that you might have saw on the social network or something like that; and Sean Carey, who is a systems developer, architect, and consultant. Now, what is it? It's aiming to create a network that acts as infrastructure for the Internet of Things ecosystem, aka how your toaster can talk to your TV if you really wanted to. It's going to make this whole system a little bit smarter, because right now it's not the most, it's smart in that I guess your toaster can talk to your alarm clock now, but not quite where we want it to be. So while we already have access to connecting home devices through the internet, Helium is looking not only to decentralize the whole ecosystem and create a trustless system, but also improve and optimize the communication between these devices. So here's the issue right now. Right now, if you have smart devices throughout your home, you need a different app for each device, which is kind of annoying. Like, I have an app for my front door lock. I have an app for my Alexas. I have an app for a smart light bulb that uses Alexa. It's annoying that you have to have all these different apps. Now, Helium is looking to be a one-stop shop for your Internet of Things needs. Now, their native token is HNT, and HNT is used as a gas and is burned proportionally to how much you use the Helium network. And then now let's talk about its potential here real quick. First off, trust. People already have trust issues, and if anything, more and more trust issues with everything being connected to the internet. The blockchain could make this connection much more secure, much more private, and much more seamless. And the Internet of Things is still a relatively new industry, and we're going to see a lot of improvement here, and this isn't going anywhere. This industry is just going to get better and better, and there's going to be some player that makes this better. And hey, Helium may be the one to do it. So that is 4 cryptos that I think have a ton of potential for altcoins. Of course, again, these are very volatile, very risky. They just have good use cases, good potential. They're worth diving into more. I am not a financial advisor. Just check into one. If you think it's interesting, do some more digging on your end, then decide, hey, do I want to take a bet on this or do I not? But as always, play it safe first and then maybe have a speculative bucket on the side. Also, if you're looking to buy various cryptocurrencies, if you're looking for an exchange that has tons of options, check out the link down below for KuCoin. They have more than 200 different cryptos that you can buy into. I have really enjoyed using their service so far. If you use that link, you get discounted trading fees. It's way cheaper than Coinbase. So that's going to do it for today. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.